Hello, Zeb Aurelios from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Inside the Force. Carabas. Gotta go, Hera's here.
It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
What's up, everybody? Dave Cottingham here with Inside the Force, and this is part 2 of 3 leading up to the release of The Last Jedi. And on this episode, I've got the familiar Inside the Force contributors that have been hitting up this whole series leading up to this movie. Russell Johnson.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Cody Geiler.
Hey, guys.
Anthony.
Hey, what's up?
Guillaume.
I was
All
okay
right,
with
guys.
just...
So glad to have you back on the show. And again, thank you, each of you, now that we have fulfilled our journey to The Last Jedi with our commentaries, because each one of you have done a commentary. Cody being the most recent, because as of now, this is coming out. The Force Awakens is now released. It's ready to go. It hasn't yet, but by the time I record this, it's out. So Cody did that. Russ did episode 4. Mm-hmm. Anthony,
Episode 3.
episode 3.
Yep.
So first off, thanks for doing that, guys. Now, it's been a while. I know, Cody, we just recorded that last week.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I mean, you guys were a while ago.
We're.
Like July, I guess, or something like that, right? I don't know. I mean, I really don't even remember.
I was wearing the same shirt I'm wearing now.
You were.
I know that.
The Miles Kanata shirt. That's right, yeah.
I've been busy writing comic reviews.
You have
for Inside
been.
the Force, so
Absolutely.
latest one just posted yesterday. So
Yes.
which is in comparison
In fact-
to this comes out wasn't yesterday.
Now, I think I did episode 199 or
Yeah, maybe.
something like that.
Yeah.
I've been here since the commentary.
Yeah, totally.
But, yeah.
Totally. But before we dive into that, Russ, good point you wanted to bring up, because just brief summary of what comics are you
Jeez.
into the most, as far as like the Star Wars ones that are out there right now. What quick review? Which ones are the ones that are must reads?
The Vader series is really good right now. It is. I just reviewed issue number 9. And it's really this new series or this new volume has really picked up from right when he became Vader in episode 3 up until it's been a big conflict between him learning who he is, finding out who he is, kind of walking a line with the Emperor. So he's really kind of has an internal battle, but it's cool seeing all these old characters come into play. There are plenty of like generals and stuff are like, who is this guy? You know, and he's kind of just really starting to make his mark as Darth Vader. So it's a really cool series. I have to really recommend, since we're talking about The Last Jedi, they've had Journey to the Last Jedi. There's a couple of series came out. Captain Phasma, which was a great one. It's a 4-issue. We get to know how she got off Starkiller Base and how she gets back to the Empire right when The Last Jedi begins. So that's a pretty cool series there as well. The Mace Windu one is okay. It's probably not my favorite. But it's all right. And the regular Star Wars series, they're really starting to get back into. Had a lot of one-offs, and they have a new writer, Kieran Gillen, who just started this last issue, and he's really starting to formate a good story and starting to bring in everything from Rogue One, like Luke is asking about Jen Erso. So like they're really starting to meld those two movies together. So that's a pretty cool series right now. So they're all doing really good. Poe Dameron's really good as well, and Dr. Aphra has been great from the beginning.
Yep.
So all the Star Wars books are just killer. So and they really blend. Again, they're blending a lot of the old and the new, really bridging some gaps. So if you really want to kind of delve into that, it's really simple. It's not like it's not heavy lifting to get into that. If you want to know that stuff, I recommend picking all those books up.
Yeah. And speaking of books, on the novel side, I'm in the middle of Phasma right now. trying to get done with that before the movie. I hate to say it's not the greatest one. The beginning is really good. I'm about 2/3 of the way through now, and the middle's been a little rough. But you learn where Phasma came from. Is a system called Parnosis, and how it's the discovery of how she got into the First Order. So she's from a planet that is just warrior based. So it's interesting, but as far as storyline, it's a little weak right now. I heard from a guy that did it, read it already, that the ending is really good. So I'm looking forward to figuring out how it comes together. But speaking of Afra, it's that character. I'm telling you, she is not going to go away soon. I think they're going to do a lot.
She's a strong
with her.
character,
and what's crazy is that in a certain point of view, which you finished, right, Cody? Have you finished that?
I have read most of the stories, but I kind of pick and chose certain ones to read through to the end.
Right. Okay, well, spoiler, sorry. But Afra is in the Certain Point of View book. So during the whole episode 4, she is dropped in. That part I won't give away. So unless you guys want to know.
It's all right. I mean,
okay.
I'm interested in it because
So she is, in the part in episode 4 where Leia reveals Dantooine as when they go inspect Dantooine, she is on Dantooine. And runs into the rebels there, or the Imperials there. So it's really neat that they just throw her in there, as a character. I did the Leia book, The Journey, which is fantastic, and I did the Legend of Skywalker, which is okay. Again, the problem I have with that book is that it's the legends of Luke Skywalker, so there's stories about Luke, meaning you don't know if they're actually true or not, right?
Like an unreliable narrator.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
There's stories, because they keep talking about this Luke Skywalker character. So, but the stories are interesting because a couple of them kind of, explain. One of them explains why he doesn't have the rest of the skin on his hand. So stuff like that could be real. I mean, it happened, but did it happen the exact same way as described? Maybe not.
That's pretty smart by them.
It's very smart.
Because if they wanted to go back on any of those stories, they have
They can recant it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and that's a big thing that we've talked about on the show about continuity. Like, the story group necessarily isn't about really actually worried about continuity. It's really about the story. So, for example, they'll say, Pablo actually gave the example, like in episode 4 when, the guys the Imperials are on the Death Star and they're talking about, it's Tag, it's Tarkin and then Vader, and it's when they're like, I wonder if she would answer to a different form of persuasion, right? And he's like, what do you mean? So there's 4 guys staying there really close. So Pablo pointed out, he's like, look, when you're shooting a movie, those guys have to be really close, right? Because they're framing, but technically they're just in that room. So the continuity is that 4 guys are in a room. What they said and what happened in that room, I mean, there's different interpretations of it because you could tell one story about them being in the room. You can tell one, but the fact is that they were in the room together. And so there's outs a lot in the whole thing, but but you have to kind of take it as it comes and all that stuff. So anyway, all right. So this is being part 2 going into the movie, which is 6 days away, less than 6 days away now. I mean, we'd already watched it by now. 6 days from now. So as we approach the movie, we're doing these little doing these shows about it. Now, me and Casey did part 1 a few days ago, and in that one that we centered on mainly not talking about our full predictions of the film, but mainly just our expectations. So, what do you expect to get out of the film? See the film. How does this movie going to shape kind of how you think about Star Wars? What do you expect to happen with these characters going forward, if and when if they survive, in the sense, if you think, and whatever. So you don't necessarily talk about. I want to get you guys really to think about just the expectation of it. So, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Russ,
Just because I'm thinking in my head, We talked about trailers, and we've talked a lot about the trailers that have come out recently and like what it means and all this other stuff. I think what they've done on this particular movie very well with the trailers is they've really, confused people. That's why we're guessing on what's going to happen. Whereas, there was stuff in A Force Awakens in the trailer where you're like, well, this is going to be important. Finn with the lightsaber is going to be really important, so on and so forth. There was some misdirection there, but you had a general idea of how the story was going to go based on it was going to mirror pretty much Episode 4 in a lot of ways. So that didn't really surprise me. This one, like, I'm thoroughly confused on like what to think about it. Like,
Right.
is Rey? The speculation, at least the trailers are telling you Rey's going to go to the dark side. And not even the latest trailer we saw really kind of spelled that out. But me was the one where and when Luke is saying this is not going to turn out how, like you think, and he's in the water and she's like raising the lightsaber and she's all wet. I'm like, so.
Yeah.
I don't think that my expectations are that I don't think Rey will go to the dark side. I think that's all a huge misdirection. Maybe wrong.
Yeah,
I think it'd be
sure.
cool if she did, honestly. That's kind of out there, but I think it'd be cool if they pulled that kind of switch where Rey went to the dark side and Kylo decided to leave the past behind. When he says leave the past behind, kill the past, it could be his current path, what he's doing right now.
Right.
Doesn't mean
It could be from the temple.
it could be anything. Yeah, exactly.
He's leaving that behind.
He could be doing
Yeah.
that. He's like, I have to leave the dark side behind now, or whatever.
And Kylo's saying that, right? So
Yeah.
Kylo's probably telling somebody else that.
It could be.
It might not
Yeah.
even be about himself.
Exactly.
Could be.
That's true too. And there's so much misdirection in this one, but I think they've really disguised it well this
Yeah.
time. I think there's no clear cut like, oh well, that's going to happen. We can speculate on it, and like I said, I don't think Rey will go to the dark side. I think it will kind of play out like we think it will play out. But I think they really have done a great job with the trailers to really just mislead everyone.
Absolutely.
They really covered a lot of stuff where you see a lot of stuff and you're like, what does that mean?
Well, and all the trailers communicate that same narrative you were saying, where like that question of, what's Rey going to do? Like, is she going to find that belonging? Where is that going to go?
How I feel after watching every single one of these trailers, I don't know. I'm sure everybody's seen The Princess Bride. When he's trying to figure out which cup the poison is in, he's like, "No, well, if you did it this way,
Right.
then you would want me to think it's over there.
Right.
So then I need to think it's over here, or you think I'm going to think that, so that's why you did that.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's how I feel. I'm like, okay, so they want me to think that Rey's going to the dark side, but because she's really not. But then if they want me to think that,
Then they're gonna
then
do
maybe
that.
they are showing me that she is going to the dark side.
Inconceivable.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So I just get really confused, and with the new trailer, I don't know. Well, now I'm thinking like, is Kylo in the first trailer? Is Kylo just asking for his lightsaber back now when he puts out his hand?
It
Can I have that back, please?
I dropped that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Back, please now.
Yeah.
You done with
That's
that?
pretty good. That's pretty good. Cody?
I feel like, the expectation predictions thing, trying to like separate those, I'm trying to like gather my thoughts, but I feel like expectation wise, Russ pointed out the trailers have done a great job of communicating this narrative. Is Rey gonna, go to the dark side, or is she gonna, with Luke, find someone as a mentor who can train her and to be able to use, the light side of the Force? But I think by giving us that thought, that question of can she go to the dark side, I think it's going to shape a whole new way of looking at the light side and the dark side. I think that's where Luke is at now. The fact that he is kind of, exiled himself away from everyone, potentially away from the Force even. It'll be interesting to see I don't think it's going to be traditional, like Rey's going to go dark, Kylo's going to go light, the way they're kind of shaping it. I think it could be one of those things where, Kylo might just not really want to keep following Snoke, or Snoke may tell Kylo, you failed, against Rey, you failed, too many times or whatever, or he may not complete his training because, Snoke said that Kylo's going to, finish his training. So it may be one of those things where where Kylo and Luke go may be completely determined on how their mentors perceive them and accept them. And if they don't find that acceptance with their mentors, they might have to, use each other to learn and to grow. And that might be this part of the Force that's not determined by light and dark side. Not saying gray, but just saying that they might have to, come together with each other to gain a new understanding or fulfill some kind of accomplishment that they have.
Let me ask you this, because talking about whether Rey will go to the dark side, Kylo will go to the light side, we've seen Kylo struggle with the light. Like, we've rarely seen someone go who is on the dark side going, oh, I really want to go. I feel the light side. You've never really seen that. It's always somebody struggling with the dark side.
Right.
Vader, even Luke to a certain degree. Do we think that Rey has to go through that? She has to experience like the power of the dark side to understand it completely. Like, she has to struggle with it to decide one way or the other. Like, just like Kylo did. Kylo's like, okay, I still feel the power of the light side.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Please lead me to like she was saying, I need someone to show me. Just like Kylo said, grandfather, show me how to stay to the dark side. Is she going to have to struggle with that in some aspect for her to really understand it?
I think that there's only one way that's going to happen, though. We have no connection for her anywhere for her to experience loss or fear or anything like that unless she gains a connection with Luke. And I'd hate to say it, but unless she gains the connection with Luke and then someone kills Luke.
Well,
and
she was abandoned on a planet, and she understands loss.
And that sense of abandonment. So imagine she's been abandoned. She hasn't had family her whole life.
She could get abandoned by Luke.
She tries to find this
happen.
belonging with Luke, and Luke's like, I don't want to teach you. Like, I'm kind of doing my own thing here.
Or unless something happens where she finds out her family abandoned her because of something Luke did.
Yeah, there could be a huge revelation that
so there
steers
is that
her away
too.
from Luke. That draws her towards Kylo, not necessarily the dark side of the Force or anything, but just Kylo as a person who is like, hey, you need a teacher. I can teach you.
Yeah. Have we heard of the theory where Kylo and Rey are brother and sister? Where he protected her against
that's one of them that's out there.
The Knights of
one
Ren
of them that's out there.
Struck everyone down. But was protecting Rey, though.
That he's the one that's dropped her off on Jakku. Okay. Because I will say, because this may change your perceptive, but with the kind of the books getting put together and timelines, like Casey and I were looking at it the other day. What was that? I can't remember what we were looking at. But the timeline of when. It was on. Oh man, I don't have my phone on me. But it was the. I don't know if I can find it on there. I have it tabbed. But it is basically a timeline of the. Did you hear? You heard the show this past one? We talked about it.
Yeah, you guys were talking about you mentioned Bloodline at one point, and you mentioned
you
Ben
read Bloodline,
Solo.
right?
I didn't, but I've heard a lot from you and Casey. But it was about Ben Solo and his time with Luke and
when the actual turn happened. Because on this timeline, it basically says that it was referenced in Bloodline that somewhere between. Between 5 or it was like 8 to 5 years before The Force Awakens is when Ben Solo became Kylo Ren and turned on Luke. Now, I remember in the book Bloodline that Leia had no idea what was going on. Like, she kept saying how she hadn't heard from Ben, she hadn't heard from Luke, she didn't know, and that, of course, this article referenced also that she sent Ben to train with Luke when she started sensing his pull with the dark side.
Right.
So he, according to that then, because again, me and Casey both were like, I don't remember that in Bloodline. Maybe we just missed it. But what that means is that she sent him when he was older. Like, he was almost 19 years old.
Yeah.
He wasn't a kid or a youngling or a baby when Luke started training him. So he basically was in the same boat as Luke and Rey, being an older person that had experienced all these different emotions, which is easier for you to pull to the dark side, right? So, but she sent him in reaction to feeling the dark side in him in order to prevent it, versus, just sending him to train and then he eventually gets tempted, right? So there was that feeling there that was so. Based on that, though, and based on what you're talking about, expectation wise, kind of what you just asked, do you expect, not predict necessarily, but do you expect actually her heritage to be revealed in this movie? Or held possibly to episode 9? Or does it even matter anymore? Does it actually matter if you know her, if she's a Skywalker or not?
Does it matter to fans or does it matter for the story?
Does it matter mostly to you and then the story?
I think it matters to me. It doesn't necessarily matter to this story.
But does it matter that you know, or does it matter that she's a Skywalker?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
You know what I mean?
I don't think it matters to me if she's
so you
a
have
Skywalker.
to know. So if she's not a Skywalker, you have to know still who her parents are. Or?
I don't necessarily think I would like to, but I don't think it's necessary to the story. I think that can be written around, and I think that they may hold that close to their chest. The studio may hold that close to their chest so that they can explore that later.
Yeah, I think
in another series or comic book or book,
right?
Like they may hold that close to their chest because it's something fans do want. And from a business standpoint, it may be smart for them to explore that in a different medium.
Right.
So, but as a fan, I absolutely want to know.
Yeah.
Absolutely do.
As
I
a
wanna
fan,
know.
I agree. I would, because they've made such a big point of it in The Force Awakens to have her just pulling away from an unknown person, dropping them off. So it's always like, there's always that mystery. So it's kind of like to me, it's one thing that's always bothered me in like TV sitcoms and stuff like that is the sexual tension between two characters that last for like 5-6 seasons. Like just get it finished already and move on. So for me, as a fan, I would love to know what her heritage is and what it becomes, but I can definitely see holding it back till the third chapter to really get a full reveal of everything, just because it is that mystery that everyone. I don't think it's. And I agree with Anthony. I'm more of like, as a fan, I want to know, but do I think it's essential to the story? Not necessarily at this point.
Yeah, and Ryan Johnson was really cryptic about it at Celebration, because he talks about how you're going to learn more about Rey, and everybody is at that time was so obsessed with who Rey's parents were and who her family was.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people assumed that's what he meant. But from what I remember, he was pretty cryptic with his wording. Like he was very specific, like not to mention. Like you're going to learn about Rey's past, or you're just going to learn about her could mean you're going to learn the inner workings of Rey as she trains with Luke. It could mean that we're not going to learn anything about her past.
Yeah.
So that was never really revealed. And I didn't realize that till just now, because like up to this point when we started talking about it, I was like, well, Ryan Johnson said we were going to learn about Rey.
Right.
But he wasn't very specific with it. Now I'm thinking back on it.
And I don't think it'll be as easy as like Kylo, his reveal. It's like, oh, grandfather. Like, I don't think it's going to be that simple. I think it's going to be much more complex than that. It's going to be, I mean, as a director and as a filmmaker, I would probably hold it up till the third part. I really would. Like, I know people really want to know what it is, but that's what's going to bring you back to the theater.
Or is it going to be a reveal?
I could
like
see it being
Empire.
a huge twist. It's the moment where Kylo shows up, or Snoke, or somebody is talking to Rey, and they're basically like, "Oh, like you think Luke's going to be your mentor? No. Luke actually like killed your parents." I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but if it's a reveal like that, that would be largely impactful for the story. Mm-hmm. But then it might not matter who her parents are if it's a plot point like that.
I always look at it as
I'd like to see it used as a story device,
exactly,
and not just a fan service or I'd rather see her sense of belonging matter to her journey moving forward, or a connection to a character that's trying to either antagonize or
Yeah,
or be a mentor for her.
because it could be just used as as a parallel to Empire.
But then look at it as a
With the
3-act
father
play
reveal.
or a 3-act part of your screenplay. You have 1, 2, and 3. You don't want to reveal the twist till the 3rd act, right?
Yeah.
That's just how it goes.
Well-
for good storytelling.
And that's what I mentioned in the last episode, is that the most important thing to remember when Empire came out, no, I am your father. Since it came from Vader, you actually didn't know if it was true or not.
That's
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
Like, Luke was like,
because when I was a kid, I was like,
Like, are you sure?
yeah, exactly.
You know, like,
no, I agree
what?
with that. Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah.
Now
impossible.
we
Totally buy
know
that. I totally buy
now
that.
it's obvious now because of the prequels. Mm-hmm. But we didn't have the prequels then,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, wait a minute, is he really his father? Like, that's crazy. So
Inconceivable.
Snoke
If he
could say to Rey
yeah.
who your parents are, but do we know he's telling
That's
the
true.
truth?
That's true.
Yeah.
So when it comes to episode 9, then the actual, because remember it took him talking to Obi-Wan to actually say,
Right.
or no, I'm sorry, Yoda said, no, your father is.
Right.
Then we knew that was his father.
Yeah.
But up until then, it was a big question mark for 3 years,
Yeah, there was that moment when Luke says that's impossible, where you actually believe Luke's like, come on,
Yes.
that's not true. You're just doing that to manipulate me. So, yeah, I totally buy that.
So I feel like when Ryan says it's revealed, someone could reveal it. He didn't say whether that'd be true or not.
that's right.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
So
Yeah.
that could be the ultimate twist. Is unlike Empire, where it ended up being true, we could get into 9 and it not be true,
Right.
And then we actually find the actual truth.
manipulation
Absolutely
from,
right.
from
Oh,
Snoke.
yeah.
Or
See, I
someone.
wish I
Yeah.
had that, because when I was a kid and I watched it for the first time, someone had already spoiled it for me.
right?
That
Yeah,
Vader was
once
Luke's
the
father.
mid late 80s, everybody.
I knew
knew.
nothing about it when I started watching it, but then I started having a conversation with a buddy of mine, and he was like, "No, Vader's Luke's father." I was like, "No, Vader killed Luke's father." We had this huge argument. Then I watched I watched Empire like that weekend, and I was just like, "Huh." So it kind of got like ruined for me. I didn't get that big
I know.
moment, but
That is arguably the most, important reveal
Yeah.
in movie history.
Absolutely. That is one of the biggest ones. Absolutely.
Absolutely. By far. So expectation wise, what about just overall feeling of the film? Do you expect this to be the best Star Wars film? Like just
Do I expect it to be?
the hype,
That's
the
I don't know.
storyline,
There's-
what you think the movie could be? Because
I'm really
I'm with you. This part 3 that we're going to do next week, me and Case, we're just going to flat out try to predict how the movie's going to go. And I seriously have no idea what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Because unlike Force Awakens, you just had so much more information. Mm-hmm. This, I just don't know anything. I mean, we've seen a couple trailers, a couple TV spots that usually have the same footage. If it's new footage, it's only a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Out
don't know what
of
it
a
means.
2.5 hour
Totally out of
movie,
context.
out of 2.5 hour movie, it's safe to say that we've only seen less than 5 minutes of the movie. Right?
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
they've done a pretty good job too of making sure none of it has any context.
Exactly. That's why I can't tell the story based on the trailers we've seen.
can't
I
either.
cannot
Oh,
tell
yeah.
the story. So expectation wise, I'll just say for me, like I think my expectation of this is it's going to be what I expect is it's going to be the strongest story that I feel like of all the films. I really do. Right now, Empire to me is the strongest story. I think Rogue One is very close to that as far as story. I think I'm going to be so blown away about how this movie is put together from beginning to end. I just expect to be. I'm expecting to be blown away by what is revealed and how where these characters go. And to me, that is going to move this movie up right away to the top of the list.
Yeah.
That's what I expect out of it right now.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, I hope it does. Do I expect it to? It's hard for me to say, but again, I'm kind of going back to Force Awakens, where I'm thinking back to the trailers there. There's a whole scene where we see Han going, talking about the past, and it's like, it's all true. So there was a lot of,
Yeah.
I don't know, there was a lot of, not revealing, but you really had a sense of like where the pacing of the story was going, and you didn't know all the details, but you at least had an idea of how it was going to play out. And much like you, like this one just feels completely fresh. Like I don't know, because with Force Awakens we had all the old characters coming back.
Yeah.
For the first time. The first time we're seeing them, I was excited about it, and that was really, honestly, that was the hook for the whole film.
Oh, absolutely.
To see all these old characters come back and how they play into the new story. Now we have the new story.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
There's no like, okay, we'll put some more old players back on the field. It's like they're already there. So where do we go from here? So this is like, to me,
Lando's not showing
exactly.
Up in this movie.
This is very this is a very fresh story to me.
Yeah.
There's no sense of how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
And again, they've done a great job concealing it all.
Yeah.
And I think Star Wars is unique in that ability to hide everything and just show a little bit. Show some fights and this. You don't really have to show a whole lot. People just go nuts over it.
Yeah.
That's a unique position for any film franchise to be in.
Yes.
To not tell you what the story is,
and that's true.
People are like, I still want to see it, but they have no idea what's happening. So,
and that's true because I feel like they revealed a lot more for The Force Awakens, and the hype for it was still astronomical, and it did $2 billion.
Sure.
I feel like with this, it's like they're not revealing anything, and the hype is even more. Is it because of that, or is it because of the fact that they don't know much, or is it just the fact that we're getting episode 8 now? In the next part of the series. So, I was just saying, unlike my expectation for Force Awakens, because I didn't expect the Force Awakens to honestly be better than Empire. I thought it'd be really good, and all that stuff, and it is really good, and it gets better every time I see it. But I don't know. Right now, my expectation for this movie is just still it's literally, it could be up there as the best film out of the series. So
I feel like, just through the trailers and the teasers, TV spots we've seen, visually, from a cinematography standpoint,
absolutely,
it already looks like and has the potential to be the most striking, like different Star Wars movie in a very good way, in my opinion, because there's camera angles, there's lighting techniques, in one of the trailers they've got that scene of Luke in the rain, and he's saying this isn't going to go the way you think, and Rey pulls out her lightsaber in the rain, and there's that blue light. We've seen dark lit spaces with a Jedi with a lightsaber lighting them, but just not the way that it looks in this movie. So visually, I feel like this movie definitely has the potential to be the best looking Star Wars movie. It's hard to say, will it be my favorite? Will you talk about Empire, because Empire's your favorite, a lot of people's favorite movies. Right now, The Force Awakens is my current favorite. So I don't know if it'll be the best or a favorite, but I do think I expect it to have a lot of the same beats as Empire.
Yeah.
Not plot, not rehash wise, comparing Force Awakens to A New Hope. But I feel like, that feeling we're going to have leaving the movie, it's got to be this whole third act that's being completely concealed. You guys mentioned it. We haven't seen anything. And I feel like the third act, they just haven't shown us hardly anything from. Maybe snippets in a teaser or a trailer. But I expect that third act to have that bittersweet feeling. So I expect the First Order, Kylo or Snoke, the villains to come out on top. But I feel like there's something that they're purposely concealing in that third act that's going to have just enough hope of the light side of the Force, whether it be, does Luke make an appearance? Does he? Something like that makes you feel bittersweet, where you see all your heroes getting beat down. You see Rey or whoever getting beat down, but there's going to be some kind of hopeful moment that gives you just a little glimmer going into 9 to know, Episode 9, the heroes have a chance.
This is the first time since, I'm going to go back to my old man days, when I first saw A New Hope, going into Empire, it was like I had no idea what was going to happen.
That's right.
No clue what was going to happen in Empire. Right. So with all the knowledge I have between books and TV shows and comics and everything else, this is the first Star Wars movie since then, I can honestly say, feels like completely fresh to me.
Yes.
Like going in, I'm like, I'm going to see something I have it's all going to be a mind-blowing effect on me as I watch it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I haven't had that experience since I was a little kid, because everything else, prequels, I knew, I didn't know how it was going to play out, but at least I had an idea of where it was all going. That was my whole thing about...
Well, you knew who was going to survive and who wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. That was my whole thing about how watching the movies in a certain order. It's like you don't get the sense of Vader being as a badass as he is if you watch start at 1. He's a sympathetic character by the time he gets to 4, but at 4 he's just like, oh my God, who is this guy, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, this is the first time since Empire that I was like, I'm gonna sit down and just hit me with it. I don't have any expectations, because even with The New Hope or even with Force Awakens, even though it followed that model, there was still enough there for me to be like, a new story. It wasn't like I was like, oh, it's just following the same thing. There was enough there to be a fresh story for me, but this really feels like I'm experiencing it for the first time with everyone. There's no expectation. There is expectations, but again, whether they play it or not is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's exciting. It's the first exciting time to go to a Star Wars movie beyond some of the other experiences. I mean, a new Star Wars movie is a Star Wars movie, but this really feels like a genuine excitement going into it. Just like,
what I'm pumped about. Like I'm really trying to keep barriers up right now for myself, because if I allow myself, if I let the walls down, I will easily I can easily go to and I've said it already. I think that this is going to be the best Star Wars film that we will ever see. But I'm trying to
until 9 comes out.
Maybe, because in my opinion, and Cody and I have had this debate on the show, in my opinion, this is the most talented director to grace the presence of Star Wars.
Wow.
So, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
But I think that Cody kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I know that it's going to be the best cinematography we've ever seen in a Star Wars film.
Okay.
Now, I have so much love for Rian Johnson. Like Brick, I have watched Brick, I don't even know how many times.
Yes.
Like, that is one of my favorite films.
Yeah, it's great.
And so, and I can't believe I haven't seen Looper. But I know.
You watch it.
You should go watch Looper
I know.
before
It's really
The Last
good.
Jedi.
I should.
It's really good.
But just from what I've seen from the trailer, I can tell you that it's going to be the best cinematography from any Star Wars film.
Okay.
Like just that's my that's my expectation. And I'm just afraid to let that boundary down, because I'm afraid to let myself think it's going to be the best Star Wars film ever, because then I don't want to let myself down.
Yeah.
But it could still exceed those expectations.
Good. For sure.
So, I mean, I'm just excited. Like, this is the first movie I've stayed up all night just to watch a panel on. You know?
Yes.
Like, at Celebration. This is the first film I've ever done that for.
Yeah.
So
and hopefully not your last.
Hopefully not my last.
Yeah.
So as we obviously have these familiar characters, Rey, and with these familiar characters, Rey, Kylo, Finn, Poe, I think the most important one to actually talk about as far as expectations for you guys is, unfortunately, with the events of Carrie Fisher's death. What do you expect happens to Princess Leia? Moment of silence.
I don't know. It's tough to say, because
well, for one, do you think the story got changed after her death? For what happens to her in episode 8?
The weird thing is
it's hard to say because
they told us they didn't.
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy and or Ryan Johnson. I can't remember exactly. One of the two, or maybe
because she
both.
had finished her shooting prior to her death.
Right.
So whatever was shot was what it was going to be in the movie. So unless it did get changed after she died, I mean, we have to assume that they were going to exit her out of the series to begin with if they didn't change anything. I mean, how else are you going to do it? You can't just have her just be like, okay, I'm going to hang in the background the rest of the time because 9's coming out. So what are you going to do?
Because there was that whole debacle with her brother, too, speaking out. But then Kathleen Kennedy kind of put the kibosh on it.
Yeah.
And said he's wrong. I forget what he said. I remember it was like...
I think it was something
a
about using her
debatable
digital
issue.
likeness.
Yes.
But I think that got squashed. So
I feel like I agree with what Russ said. I think if they're telling us they are not changing the story and they finished everything, there's two things that are almost conflicting with what they said, which it kind of bothers me as I'm talking about it right now. I would have originally thought, well, they already planned to have her die.
Yeah.
They're not going to change it because that was already in the plan. And then now, we kind of can speculate on that. But then the other thing I keep thinking is every other interview from Mark Hamill, from Kathleen Kennedy, from anyone else says that Force Awakens was Han's movie, The Last Jedi, Luke's movie, Episode 9 was going to be Leia's movie. They've said that numerous times. That makes me think there's no way that she's being killed off in this, and they were never planning on killing her off in The Last Jedi, which is strange because those two things completely contradict each other.
Right.
And I feel like them saying 9 was Leia's movie seems more likely that they filmed all her scenes. She's not going to die in The Last Jedi. They're going to have to figure out between now and while they're writing Episode 9 in a house somewhere. JJ and Chris Terrio are literally trying to work on that right now of how to exit her out off screen or in some complicated way. So I feel like because they said 9 was Leia's movie, her story will not get wrapped up, unfortunately. But I would like to hope that we at least get a reunion of Luke and Leia, and that will at least give the fans some kind of sense of closure with the character. And it's just tough. I mean, I think they're probably in a pretty complicated situation, and unfortunately, we might not have a true ending with her character.
yeah, I think I think that this movie is about him, and this movie is about. I don't know if they can stick to that now because I feel like that Luke. Because I heard the same thing you did about each of those movies, but I keep always going back to how Kathleen Kennedy got JJ on board, and it was one simple question: who is Luke Skywalker? And he got on board right away. So, and now that he has agreed to do Episode 9, I feel like he's finishing Luke's story. So I think Luke makes it all the way through 9.
All the way through, like he doesn't die in 9 either?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he died, but I feel like, the first Episode 7 was finding Luke. I think this is almost his recovery, in a sense, because he's lost. I mean, I think that's pretty stated that he's lost, and he has a belief that the Jedi should not exist because of what they can do bad, how they can do bad things to the galaxy. And so I think he comes out of that, and then the ninth movie is actually him saving the galaxy, is, in my prediction, how I expect his character to go. And where Leia falls in that, and what makes me think now, because of them saying
I actually just thought of something.
they're not changing anything about her, kind of makes me feel like she dies in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the original intent?
Yes. And the reason also, now again, I'm pulling from other material because not everybody reads them, but I'm pulling from the Leia book that came out. You learn in that book going through the academy or not the academy, but the apprenticeship and all this stuff that she goes through when she's 16. She's best friends in that book with Laura Dern's character, Admiral. I can't remember her name, but she's an admiral.
Admiral Holda.
Yeah, I think so. Again, the feeling I get is that she kind of takes her place in leading the resistance. Because why was she not on Hazian Prime and got destroyed? I don't know. I guess we'll figure that out because she's an admiral. So, because she's obviously not part of the resistance yet. So somehow, because they're friends, she somehow gets involved in the resistance, especially after what happened. So I feel like we'll get more Laura Dern in episode 9 as far as the resistance leader. Mm. So that's partially what I can put together, only because of Carrie Fisher's death, and as well as just reading Leia and kind of hearing about Laura Dern's character a little bit. So, and you don't really, to me, you don't bring in a high profile, because Laura Dern's a high profile actor. And you don't pull her in just for one movie. I don't feel like. I feel like she's going to be in 9. Yeah. Just like, I don't think we have to get into it too much, but just like Benicio, like we have no idea about his character, and it's never even talked about. But I can't even fathom what his character is in the story. I have
he hasn't
no
been
idea.
in any of the trailers.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't heard any of this stuff about Kathleen Kennedy saying this or any of these other.
Right.
People saying things that would make you think one way or the other. So from an objective point of view, I agree with Dave. I just think that if you're going to use Han and Leia as much as you did in The Force Awakens and only use Luke for the end scene, you can't end his story in 8.
Yeah.
He has to have a redemptive factor just like Vader did. Like, he's not going to the dark side, but he's still conflicted about what he's going to do. So, him being, I mean, with all the characters that are out there, Luke is still really the main character, right? So, he had his growing up to do in 4 through 6, and I think he's got to do the same, almost the same thing in 7 through 9. That he's got to show up. I think it'd be, I mean, I don't know. I think it'd be a waste to have him at the end and kill him off in 8.
Yes,
and just have somebody take off. I think you wait till 9. If you're going to kill him at all, you kill him off at 9. And the fact that they say that the only thing I have heard is they haven't changed anything, so I can only speculate, like we said earlier.
Yeah.
That
I can agree with that. I also thought of while we were bouncing around this idea of Kathleen Kennedy saying that she hasn't changed anything. I can also see a situation where, at the end of this film, Leia somehow gets taken by Snoke to do something to Kylo.
Yeah.
But he can take Leia, and she gets taken. 9 is supposed to be about rescuing her.
Yeah.
And then they could make it to where at the end of 9 they've gotten to that point and she's been killed by Snoke, which could be a turning point for Kylo in 9.
The only issue I would say about that is that when Ryan wrote 8, he wasn't writing 9. So like, because by doing that, what you're saying, you're kind of limiting what JJ can do with 9.
Correct.
Fully. If that's the story of saving Leia, like you're already setting the story. And he basically just he doesn't really have freedom to explore that much different. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason I would say that. Because I feel like this is like, I mean, because if you think about Empire, Empire ended in a way that, it's set up that you have to rescue Han, but it didn't set up how the rebels resolve the conflict of the Empire, right? So that was still open to be. I mean, obviously Lucas had his own timeline, to figure it out. But To me, I feel like if Ryan was in charge of 9, I think everything he does in 8, he could have easily known where he was going. Like, but I think he was limited to stopping at the end of 8. Like, he couldn't say like, "Oh, I'm going to." When 9 comes, we're going to move this character into this position, because I don't think he had the ability to do that.
And it could be setting up to where, yes, in Empire, so they have to rescue Han, but they also have to resolve the problem with Empire. They have to rescue Leia, but they also have to resolve their issue with the First Order.
I mean, that's
but
possible.
now they have it set up to where they could do anything they want after the.
Yeah.
It's a speculation for
Totally.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that might be a way to where it agrees with the fact that they have not changed anything, and with the point that Cody
just feel like-
said about it being Leia's movie in 9.
But for example, real quick before you go, just like 7, right? I feel like JJ got to the end of 7. You find Luke, right? That was his point of his movie, to get to Luke. But I feel like it was Ryan. Again, I don't know. I'm not in story group, but I feel like
Be nice.
I feel like it was Ryan had the choice of saying, "All right, I'm going to do my movie right after Episode 7." Like, there's no. But I feel like he could have, if he said, "It's 6 months later. This is where we pick up." I feel like they would have let him do that.
Yeah.
So that's why I think, when we get to the end of this movie, JJ may time jump. Obviously, he may move a year later or 2 years later.
And so what if we find out in the crawl of 9 what happens to Leia?
That's
Unfortunately,
possible,
because they
That
weren't
is-
able
That is
to.
absolutely possible.
Yeah.
It would be unfortunate.
Here's my only caveat to all that. All of our major characters, their deaths mark a significant change in the direction of the story. Vader redeeming himself, sacrificing himself for his son. Han's death, Obi-Wan's death, they are all they're very strong storytelling points to change a character, the direction of the story, it changes direction. So I think
Right.
to just have Princess Leia be off camera, or she died, or it's going to be revealed. Like, I think for the major characters, it would be a cheat just to have her be like, "Oh well, yeah, she got killed and she's off screen."
Well, they don't
Yeah.
have the luxury of choosing.
They don't, but
We don't know, but we
I think-
assume that they might not have.
But
had
I would
that
think you would
luxury.
try to somehow find a way to make her death more poignant than off screen or a crawl like reveal.
But if
Right.
they didn't shoot it, they won't. They can't.
But
do
as I'm
that.
saying, if they shot everything and the movie's done and they're not going to change anything, I think they would have built in the fact that her death is significant.
I mean, I'd like to. I hope it.
story.
I hope it.
I hope it is too.
It's useful, for
but that
the
would be
story.
my expectations. It's
I'm
like-
just
it's
worried
like-
that they didn't have the luxury to, and it's just complicated.
I mean, and they could put it in a novel. They could put it in a novel. I mean,
Yeah.
one thing we've talked about, Casey and I, is will they do major events in the novels or in the comics?
Right.
Major events like deaths. For a while, we said no because in the first novels that came out, there were really just backstories or introduction to stories. There wasn't really pivotal. But in these later books, like Aftermath, there's a lot of stuff that happens in Aftermath that's pretty significant. Like basically the history of Snap and his mother, Galax Rax, who's a big Imperial in that movie or in that series. But you also have, it's a little significant, but you have in Dark Disciple, you have basically the conclusion of Asajj Ventress' story, who in my mind now, because of that book, is one of the best characters created in Star Wars. But there's a lot of significant things that happen in Dark Disciple that translate through the Clone Wars that have impacts on Obi-Wan and Yoda and the Jedi Order, Quinlan Voss, who is a major character in that book. So I feel like they're getting more and more important to the overall storyline, these novels. So I would not be surprised if they released a novel between 8 and 9 that explains what happens to Leia. in my mind.
Be a good thing just for the character for fans if they weren't able to do it the way that they wanted.
I mean, it'd be
wanted.
sad if they couldn't do it that way. you know,
But
but
I could see that being.
they've already proven the fact that
possibility.
they're willing to bring back Grand Moff Tarkin and Leia as a younger person. So
Yeah.
if you have one scene where you do that and
Yeah.
you at least service her character as a significant
Could be.
turning point in a movie franchise, I think that's what you would do.
Yeah, I would rather them CG like one shot,
thing, yeah,
one
not like a
wide
whole
shot
yeah,
or one
yeah,
close
yeah,
or something
yeah.
where
Sure,
I would
sure,
rather that
sure,
be the case.
Sure.
Yeah.
if they had the option.
Sure.
And you play off like
That would be my hope. Let's put it that way. It's not my
reaction.
expectations or my prediction. It's just I hope
Oh yeah,
they service her character in the way they've done other characters. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
There's only two things that I'm positive of in this film. One is that I'm going to love Chewbacca playing with porgs. Two, we are definitely going to get an 80s montage training scene between Rey and Kylo. Those are the only two things that I'm absolutely positive of that are coming in this movie. Where it comes to Leia, like I don't know. I think that they're still trying to figure that out, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super unfortunate situation, but like I
Super
say, it's just my hope for all the main characters like
Yeah.
that to have. I mean, Obi-Wan being the first real significant death is like he sacrifices himself for the entire cause. You know, it's just like, and I think that established those major character deaths. You know, to do that type of thing. Whether I mean Han was not necessarily a sacrifice, but it was important to Kylo's character.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah.
Oh, and Leia's going to be really important for Kylo. I mean,
absolutely.
It's gotta be. And hopefully, there's something in 8 that we have that allows Kylo to either grow or to not grow, depending on what he chooses to do.
Yeah.
Little jerk.
Yeah. I just know
So
if,
what, the ice
something
foxes?
happens
What
to
about
Chewie,
That's what I want to talk about.
I
Ice
don't
foxes.
know if I can.
Nobody's talking about
I
this.
don't
Everybody's
know
about
if
the
I'll be able to make
porgs.
it.
I like the
Yeah.
ice foxes.
No, I agree.
If something happens to Chewie, I
All
don't
right.
know if I want to make it.
Yeah.
Chewie,
All right, as
Chewie
we,
will
um,
live forever. Don't
As
worry.
we
I know,
as
he has
we,
to.
He's fine.
As we get close to closing this up, so last thing I'll bring up, and then you guys can add what you want later. But since we did expectations, let's move once into predictions, and each of you tell me. I know it's hard to think, but you gotta think fast. Give me, and everybody listening, your one big, bold prediction. Of the
Bold
film.
or okay?
One big, bold prediction for the film.
We're gonna see Ewan McGregor.
Wow, really?
That's my big bold prediction. I would have gone one step further and said we were gonna hear Qui-Gon, but I'm gonna. But
You think we're going
I
to see
thought I'm gonna dial it
Ewan
back a notch.
McGregor
I
as
think
Obi-Wan
as a
as
Force
a Force
Ghost.
Ghost? Wow, that's big.
I know
That's big. I like
that's
that.
my big bold prediction because something's got to happen with Luke on the island.
Wow. I would go freaking ape shit about that. That would be awesome.
Be awesome.
That would be incredible if it.
That's my big bold prediction.
And I like that. I like that because I would think maybe that would happen. Maybe.
Luke's got to be
but I
talking to
could-
somebody.
But if they didn't
not
get
Rey
it, but if for
cave.
some reason they didn't get Obi-Wan or Ewan McGregor, I would feel like they could do Yoda.
They could probably do
Pretty
it. Frank
easily.
Oz could come in.
No, there was CG a Yoda.
No, but I
yeah,
mean,
the
the
voice. Yeah,
voice.
sure.
Isn't Frank Oz dead?
Is he?
Yes, he is.
Frank Oz died?
No, he's not dead.
Frank
He's
Oz is
not?
not dead.
I don't think so.
Okay, look it up.
I'm pretty sure
man,
he's
I thought he
not.
died.
It's a magic
I'm
phone
sure
box.
he's around still.
I hope not.
Because he just voiced Yoda on Rebels
Really?
this past season.
Okay, I thought
Yeah.
he died a long time ago.
No, I think he's still around. Jim Henson died.
I know he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought,
But not
died,
Frank
that's
Oz.
it.
I don't think Frank
Please,
Oz
I
did.
think somebody else is doing voices anyway. Sorry, my big bold prediction: is Frank Oz is going to come back to a voice in Force Awakens.
He is still alive.
So big bold
He's
prediction.
6'2".
He's 73.
We'll see Vader.
Whoa, really? Like, wait, Anakin or Vader? What do you mean?
Vader, Darth Vader.
As a Force Ghost or
Not a Force Ghost, but I think we tie it back into Rey still understanding what happened with the Knights of Ren and
Oh, she
Luke
sees a
and
flash,
all that.
like a force
Maybe-
back?
Yeah, we get her struggling with because we saw Kylo talking to his grandfather just through the helmet, but I think we actually see a conflict somewhere along the lines where Vader is an important part of that.
Whoa.
Man.
I like both of these so far.
Like a Hayden Christensen?
I haven't even thought of
No,
that.
No, in the Vader suit.
Full Vader.
Okay. Vader
Full
suit.
Vader.
Okay.
Full
Oh,
Vader.
like
Full Sith.
do you think
full
we'll hear
badass.
James-
Never go full Vader.
You
Never
think
go
you're
full
gonna hear
Vader.
James
He's
Earl
full Vader in
Jones?
this one.
So like a Sith Force ghost.
No, not Force Ghost necessarily.
He's saying
Flashback.
like a flashback.
Kind
Flashback.
of like what they did with the Knights of
The-
Ren.
the Force back?
When she's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So something along
Yeah.
those lines. Not necessarily a Force
Well,
Ghost.
that's kind of cool because
You think you're going to hear James Earl Jones?
If he
In
talks.
If he talks, yeah.
Yeah.
that-
Ain't no one else doing
Oh,
Vader.
I know it. I know no one else is
it's-
gonna do
it's full
Vader. I
Sith
just-
Vader. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not
no,
like
that-
a
I'm just
conflicted
asking,
Vader.
like-
It's a Vader trying to screw with them because
Okay.
how can he? Because if maybe a Force Ghost in that sense that if everyone else could become a Force Ghost and he did, as Anakin, maybe he comes back as a Force Ghost as Vader because he's such a strong character.
And what we have
really
learned, I'll
interesting.
throw out there, what we have learned in a certain point of view, that as a Force Ghost, once you become a Force Ghost, you actually can come back in any form you choose.
Boom. Confirmed.
So, Anakin, yes, technically Anakin.
He's come
can
back as Anakin, so he's come back as
That's
Vader.
another
He can come back as child Anakin. He can come back as
Come
technically
back
Vader.
as Vader.
Yippee!
I know. Well, that might be closer to mine because Hayden was at Celebration.
You're right.
he was.
And it also brings up the fact that, like you said, Obi-Wan, like Ewan Rare can come back as Episode 3 Obi-Wan
Yeah.
and not have to be Alec Guinness Obi-Wan.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why they made that
I
explanation
think
in
we
a
get
certain point of view.
I
is
think
that-
we get a CG Alec Guinness Force Ghost back in this time.
Oh man.
bold
double
predictions.
whammy.
Whoa.
I like
Well, my second
Because the Force
prediction
Ghost would be easier to
Qui-Gon's
CG
voice,
than
but
I like
full-blown,
something with
t-
Anakin with Vader because we were watching The Force Awakens doing the commentary and we were talking about the Force back, and I was kind of mentioning this idea that I had for Kylo because he has a strong connection with Vader's melted mask, right?
Right.
And it seems like Kylo is probably collecting Sith artifacts or at least Vader relics because he's his grandfather or he just wanted to find Vader relics. But the way when Rey touches his lightsaber and has the Force back, I feel like the only reason why Kylo would talk to a mask and be that psychotic is that when he first touched it, he had a Force back, much
Ooh,
like
wow.
Rey did with the
Yeah.
lightsaber. So we
Yeah,
could see
yeah.
something like that with another object or
I
the
mean, could you
mask
not
or
see the
something.
scene where in the trailer where he says he's got his helmet and he's like smashes it against the thing? Could you not see a scene where he's talking to himself in a room and Vader's behind him, instructing
Yes.
him to do stuff?
Could see that.
Yeah,
Definitely could see that.
that's good. That's good.
So what's your prediction?
Bold prediction. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna go for a potential third act
Wow, okay.
twist
Whoa!
ooh,
that Kylo reveals to Rey that Luke killed her parents. I know I've mentioned it before, but I think that is something that could actually happen
That
in the movie.
Luke killed her parents.
Yeah, and or that Luke was responsible for killing the Jedi
death?
in his academy through some type of crazy using the Force in a way that was uncontrollable.
Oh.
Not knowing if her
you're
parents
saying
are
that
related
he
to
killed
that.
them, not that he is responsible for their death.
We'll say responsible for the death. He didn't
I
actually.
can see
he didn't
that
actually
being
kill
more
them.
likely.
like take a saber
Yes.
to him.
He might not have meant to kill them.
Right.
But I think Luke was
Interesting.
responsible for some kind of death, and that's why he's exiled.
But what if?
Dave, you
And
might
what
be-
if?
you
What
might
if
have a
when
whammy.
Luke says, "I've seen this kind of power before," it didn't scare me then, but it scares me now. But he's talking
talking
about
about
himself.
himself?
Yep.
Ooh.
Oh, I've
I just
said
thought of
that.
that. Sorry.
I've said
That's
that.
the first time I thought of that.
not talking about Kylo, because I
Right.
think there's some
Right.
stuff with Kylo.
Because when he says that, I think it's his hand popping out of the rubble, not
Why is he still alive?
Exactly.
Because he freaking went Force crazy.
Yeah, I've mentioned that.
Force rage.
Haven't I mentioned that to you?
Makes
I thought I
That
mentioned
he does like a.
Well, I mentioned that in that dialogue that he's actually talking about himself, not Kylo. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
I thought that too at first. Because when I first heard that, when I first saw the trailer, I actually thought that's what he was talking about himself first.
I assumed Kylo
That's the first time I thought of it
but
just now.
Oh, sorry.
Honestly.
Yeah.
No,
No, no, yeah.
Just when he said that, I was like, wait a minute. If he's going to go force crazy, that's
Yeah.
himself. Yeah.
I like this force crazy. Hashtag force crazy.
I said Force Crazy.
Yeah.
I
I'd do that if I stubbed my toe. And
I
was
will.
force sensitive.
Obviously, I have a few more days. I have a few more
Killer
days
one around.
to. I have a few more days to think about my full predictions of the movie. But my bold one right now, I still have to go back to one of the very first rumors that came out after Force Awakens, when Episode 8 was announced, or when Episode 8 was in pre-production, all that stuff. I still have to go back to that Rey is possibly a chosen one. So if people remember, the big rumor back then was that she is a chosen one, that Anakin is not the only chosen one, that there's several chosen ones throughout time, and that they pop up when the galaxy or the balance of the Force is in danger. So I feel like that she was born at her times because the whole thing with the First Order and Snoke and all that stuff was coming about, and she is the chosen one to, fight that. Now, as we know with Vader, the chosen one doesn't always mean you succeed, because you can fall. So I really can't make a guess whether or not she's gonna go evil or not. I don't know. I'm not thinking about that a little bit more, but as of right now, my bold prediction right now is I don't. That rumor had to be out there for a reason. It has to be out there for a reason. I don't know, and maybe she's not the chosen one, and but as we know, chosen ones are really born from the midi-chlorians, because again, that prophecy is a prophecy about the chosen one, not necessarily saying that that's the only prophecy. The only, you know what I mean? Like the prophecy is that someone will be born of the Force and bring balance to the Force.
Are we talking like a virgin birth?
Yes,
chosen one, like with a mother.
Correct. That's why I remember my original prediction about that whole thing that I've said on the show is that I wouldn't doubt that Leia birthed Rey. I would say if she's a chosen one, then Han is not the father.
You are not the father.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So she could be a chosen one, born of the Force through Leia, but as we know through the novels, again, through Bloodline, Han and Leia aren't always together. They're part, and they never see each other for a long time. So, one of my early predictions a year ago when we were talking about when there were things getting filmed, my thought was that she could be a chosen one. She could be born from Leia. Luke takes her in to train her, but then when things start going bad now the timeline kind of doesn't fit if Ben turns when he turns. But anyway, my thought originally was that when things go bad, Luke hides her on Jakku, and maybe if she's too young to remember, or maybe even force wipes her, because that's an ability. And then she eventually, as we find out through this movie, she kind of starts putting pieces and finds facts that what happened. So then that would make them siblings. Obviously, that would still make them the Solo twins, not twins, but Solo.
Should be a Solo or should be a Skywalker or an Organa.
Well, she's married now. She'd be a Solo.
Okay,
she's married, so she would. It would be the Solo siblings, not the twins, but it'd be siblings. Because I still don't know. I still feel like they got to be related, Leia or Kylo and Rey. Because again, they keep talking about this being a Skywalker saga, But I would not be surprised because again, I made that prediction, but after thinking, I would not be surprised if Rey has a completely different background and the story of the Skywalker saga is Luke and Ben Solo, who is actually a Skywalker technically, right? So, so but I'm still, for some reason, I just got to go back to that Chosen One theory, and I mean, it was a strong rumor for months. It was a strong story for months that there's multiple Chosen Ones, and then part of the rumor too was Rey on Octu that there was a scene that showed a lot of the Force Ghosts, of the Chosen Ones, and Anakin being there as a Force Ghost. So again, those are rumors out there. Those are storylines out there that we talked about that I don't know why they would be out there other than possible leaks or possible people talking about it. So again, it could have been in the first draft of the story, first script, and then it got changed out and it's not in there now, but there's just got to be something significant about Rey. There's got to be. She's either got to me anyway. She's got to be either be a Skywalker. She's got to be a Solo. She's either got to be a Chosen One. I cannot believe she is just some random new character,
some rando
that has a background that does not connect to the Skywalkers somehow. Or possibly, another rumor that came out for a while was she's a Kenobi.
Yeah.
Right. So she's
I don't see how
somehow
that
connected.
happens.
Yeah, that one seems like a slim chance.
But she is somehow, to me, she
backstory.
is somehow connected. I really don't know how, but somehow she's connected.
Ben had an affair with Luke's mom, and that's why Uncle Owen doesn't like Ben. I don't know.
Uncle Owen?
No, I'm
Luke's mom.
not Luke's mom.
Padme?
Luke's aunt. Yeah.
Aunt Beru?
Yeah. No, I'm just making things up.
Yeah, no, you are.
I'm just.
Anyway.
No, I don't see her being a Kenobi at all. I can't see that.
No, I think
There's no way.
Timeline.
I could see her being Rey random, to be honest. I think I could be okay with it. If somehow her story, where she came from, what planet, who was involved with why her parents are gone or why they left her, I could see that being the important part, and where she comes from not really mattering as much. But there would be a larger payoff if she is somehow a Skywalker.
Yeah, I think at this point it might be fan service to make her
a Skywalker.
I think that you can get away with her not being. I think she could be Rey random.
Well,
and
okay. Well, how about this? One last question on that sense. Do you believe that when they started filming Episode 7, that they knew Rey's background fully?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yeah, I don't think.
So you knew? You think JJ knew her background?
I don't. Yeah, I don't think you set up that story, set up the mystery without knowing what the end result is. I don't think they went in and said, "Okay, we're going to make one movie. Hopefully, it does well. We'll make 2 more." No, I think they were like, "This has got to be the general."
Yeah, I think you need to know something about that.
General heritage of all these people. Now, how do we shroud it in mystery and tell a story around it? I don't think you can go into. I don't think they'll have no idea going into 8 who she is. I don't think it's possible. Because why would you tell the story of showing a mystery person dropping her off if it wasn't going to be a reveal at some point? So how? I mean, I don't know. I think you have to know going in.
But along that line, though, then doesn't it mean that it has to be pretty significant?
Oh yeah, I think it has to be significant.
Like it's just not some. Like her parents aren't just 2 new characters that we'll meet.
I mean, I would be hugely disappointed if it was Rey random, but I do feel like it's not just fan service to set up a mystery that big just to pay it off with, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's just some random person. I think it's got to. I think every character so far, it would, to me, it wouldn't make any sense, and maybe I wouldn't be okay with Rey random because every other significant character has a tie somewhere. Kylo going in, it was revealed pretty early who he is, but he had to have a tie to something. You know, if he was just some kid they picked up and
Yeah.
made him, he's force sensitive, it's sort of the dark side. Snoke trained him and he's just some guy. It doesn't hold as much weight in this story. And this whole trilogies have always been about those connections.
Yeah.
It's never been just some random dude off the street.
It doesn't necessarily have to be
Family,
someone
yeah.
random. Well, I mean, she could still have like random parents, but still have a tie-in if Cody's right and there's a reveal that Luke is responsible for her parents' death. It ties
Maybe.
it back into Luke,
Yeah.
and that therefore is of
Yeah, but
importance.
if that's the case, though, that's still a major plot point. So what I'm saying is her mystery has to either pay off in her parentage being significant or the lack of her parentage being significant. Which would be
I
Luke
think
killing
it's
them.
going to be significant. I just don't necessarily need her to be related to
No,
anybody
she
we
doesn't.
know.
No, I agree with
That-
that. But
yeah.
I'm saying plot point wise,
Yeah.
her reveal of whatever happened to her, who dropped her off, has to be a significant plot point. Whether it be Luke killing her parents, who we don't know anything about, or that she's actually connected to someone. I mean,
Well, that's a great question. I'd actually, if you guys don't mind, if we could just like go around and say, who do you think drops Rey off on Jakku?
I mean, I'll stick with my initial thought, which is Luke.
Luke.
I like the theory that it's Kylo.
Yeah, I like Kylo dropping her off.
Do I think it is? It's hard to say, but I like that theory the best.
I like the idea that it might be Leia.
Yeah.
That's good. I actually haven't really heard many people say
With
that.
all three of those different options, there's obviously conflicts you can come up with too. But because, like with Kylo, because I like that option, but I keep going back to, well, does that mean he knows exactly who she is in Force Awakens? As soon as he finds out there's a scavenger
I think that if you look at it
from Jakku,
from the
I don't know.
aspect of her, I mean, outside of the fact that the only really reasonable explanation, her going to find Luke Skywalker
so
and was her being force wiped, because when she finds out that Luke Skywalker was real, she's like, what?
Yeah.
You know, if he dropped her off, she would know that. So it wouldn't be like, oh, there is a Luke Skywalker out there. So she'd have to be force wiped. So I think with the simple fact that Kylo said, what girl? Like immediately when he was a girl,
yeah,
that ties into him being like, I know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I hid her.
yeah.
Type of thing.
Unfortunately, the timeline, I'm starting to think the timeline may mess that up because
But nobody knows for sure when Ben turned.
no. But in this, according to Bloodline, what this article is saying is somewhere between 8 to 5 years before Force Awakens, which means Kylo at that point is around 20 years old, which means
Rey is 10
Rey's about 10.
or 9.
So how old is she when she's
She's pretty young.
in the, I mean,
I'd
5,
say
6,
I'd say
7?
I would say 6, 7 at
Ish.
the
I don't know.
oldest.
I mean,
It's hard to tell.
she's a little girl. So does the timeline of her age match when the fall of the Jedi, Luke's Jedi? That part I have no idea.
Yeah, I worry though that if you, that's a book, right?
Bloodline is, yeah.
Okay, I worry that if you're just watching the movies in an arc, people who are just watching the movies are not going to know that Bloodline's timeline.
Right.
So you can easily make that disparity up through a movie.
And the fact that Leia and people in the galaxy actually didn't know what was happening because they don't even know where the Jedi training was happening with Luke.
Right.
You know, it could have happened 5 years prior. They find out 5 to 10 years after. Because I think Han even says in The Force Awakens, and I kind of take this as he hadn't seen him maybe since he left. He said to Leia, I saw him. I saw our son. Like, we haven't seen our son
in years.
15 years or
Well,
however
it's
long.
yeah,
10
however
years.
long Luke took him.
So that could have been the first time that
Probably
either
10
of
years
them
or so at least.
saw.
But that's a big question mark. I mean, the timeline is a huge question mark, because you're right. If everybody just goes by the movies, you have to have some explanation of, in this movie especially, I think, when things happened. Because it's not fully explained in the novels. Again, it's very vague. Like you said, Leia doesn't know what's happening. My problem, I'll tell you what, one problem I have right now is that, and of course, he didn't know these storylines were coming. But, when Lucas did episode 6, it's called Return of the Jedi. Now, Return of the Jedi is Return of Luke. I guess Luke is becoming a Jedi. So it's the return, there's a new Jedi.
Or the return of Anakin.
It could be, I guess you could look at it that way, yes. The return of the Jedi, which, yes, that's possible. But what I'm saying is that in my mind, you have this grand vision in a way that Luke is going to, reestablish a Jedi Council, start training younglings, and now, again, according to this article, is that he does do that because he has this academy going on until Ben comes over, because Leia suggests that Luke help him because of the dark side issues. So we don't know yet, and I think we'll find out eventually, but we don't know yet how long Luke took to find where he's going to establish the temple, start training, how many Jedi were training at that time. But the problem I have is that he didn't establish, it seems like in a way, he didn't establish the Jedis as being the keepers of peace in the galaxy. Because still, as you tell by about Luke or not Luke, but as you can tell by Rey and Finn and everything in The Force Awakens, is that the Jedi are myth. Like, you would think that if he became part of the government, the New Republic, and training Jedi, people would then start realizing there's Jedi, they're training, they're the keeper. You know what I mean?
Like he did it in secret, or he.
So
did
it sounds
yeah.
like he's isolated himself in training new Jedi, and the rest of the galaxy has no idea he's doing that. Yeah. Not even the New Republic knows that he's doing it. I kind of take issue with that a little bit, because I felt like after episode 6, he becomes part of the New Republic, and he is establishing the order again to police the galaxy, where it doesn't seem like that happened.
But think about Luke's training. I mean, his training was very non-traditional. I mean, he didn't complete it, and then he returned to Yoda to try to complete it, and he never really ever got in touch with what the Jedi were in their height in the prequels. So unless he dug into artifacts...
But he does see Obi-Wan and Yoda and can talk to them.
Yeah, he can.
So...
But wouldn't Obi-Wan be like, yeah, don't do it the way we did it, because clearly that didn't work?
Maybe. Or maybe he just... It worked. They just didn't sense what happened. But Palpatine did everything. They didn't sense what was happening. What they were doing was correct. They were policing and keeping the peace.
You don't think what Qui-Gon thought about the Council and how they got to the point they got to was sort of because the Jedi got a little too involved in the politics of it all, in the war?
Well, they had no choice to go to war. I mean, that's what the whole point of the Separatists were, to cause them to go to war. I mean,
there's no doubt Palpatine pulled those strings.
Oh, he pulled both sides. I mean, that's what he was doing. He was manipulating them so much that they had no idea what they were doing. I mean, he was forcing them to do his will the whole time. Anyway, but anyway, I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised, at least what I'm hearing and reading now, is that he just kind of kept to himself and to build this up. And maybe he was building it up in order to have the Jedi established before he incorporates into the galaxy. I mean, I guess. But you remember also...
Well, yeah, because like he can't establish a Jedi Council right into the New Republic right after Jedi when he's the only Jedi, because then it just becomes... this issue
not a council necessarily, but you can start training younglings. I mean, and depending if he only took younglings or if he took older people that could train faster or whatever, blah, 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 blah. But you got to remember also that, at this point, still, in most people's minds that read history, the Jedi were branded as traitors, right? So most people didn't know the actual real truth that Palpatine was a Sith and manipulated both sides, and the Jedi were actually framed. Like people, and it comes up in a lot of novels that the people believe and know what the Emperor said in Empire Day, basically that the Jedi were corrupt and tried to take over the galaxy.
Like in the Battlefront campaign, they even allude to it in a mission.
So maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's why he's still trying to keep it silent, because people have this perception of the Jedi being evil still. I don't know. So anyway, that's and maybe that's partially why Luke, kind of went crazy, because everything went to shit, and he just, had to go into hiding almost. Go. But that's another question. That's a whole other topic. Is why did he go isolate himself, but have a map to find him? I don't know.
To your point, it was 30 years between.
That's right.
The storylines. It's like you got to make up that ground, and how do you figure if you made him like part of the Jedi Council and he was part of the New Republic, and there was a whole backstory there, that'd be a whole other set of movies you'd have to build into to get into what we have now. So.
Right. Which I believe. I don't know if you guys listen to the show every episode, but I believe the next television show takes place between 7 and 8.
Oh, I definitely.
Wait, 7 and 8?
6 and
6
7?
and 7.
Yeah, that I definitely
animated?
believe.
That I don't know, because this whole talk about live action series, it could be that.
Are they going to come back?
But I don't think they would do Luke.
You
can't do Luke.
Sebastian's, what's the...
Sebastian Stan?
Yeah, have you seen all that stuff
Yes.
about how he looks like,
Yeah,
Mark Hamill?
I think it's going to be animated.
You
I feel
could
like it's
do
gonna be
Luke
animated.
now that they've done Han.
I know.
They've opened that door up. I'm just saying.
That's the thing. Is like there might be a lot of backlash with that.
There
when that
could
comes
be.
out.
I would go to say that if they did do that, it's got to be animated.
Yeah, I think.
And
it's
Mark
gonna be animated.
Hamill
I think it's gonna be
Hamill
animated.
does the voice.
I don't think you can have the. Unfortunately, I don't think you can have the TV budget to have a bunch of Jedis. No. I just don't.
I'd
think
love to
so.
see something animated, especially after they tell the stories in The Last Jedi and in 9, where the reveals that we would get there don't impact, our explanation of the story. I think that'd be awesome. I mean,
I do hope if they do, I wrote this in my review of Darth Vader number 9, is if they make a Vader standalone movie that's separate, like a Vader story, should be based on that series. Just because it's so interesting to go from when he was like, no, to how he becomes, because that really shows Vader's progression.
Right.
Because you don't ever see him in conflict with himself, in conflict with the Emperor, anything like that. This is like, becoming... It's like Anakin becoming a Jedi and Vader becoming a Sith.
Yeah.
It's the same parallel. And the people he encounters ties into older movies. Like this particular issue, has to basically... We have the Grand Inquisitor, who's in the Jedi Temple, because he was a Jedi in training, and he always wanted to get all the information, but Jocasta Nu was like, no, you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
So he was like pissed the whole time. He's like, I always wanted to stab you in the face and kill you and get the information I want. That's why I went this way.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's tying in all those, it's tying in Rebels, it's tying all these different storylines. I think is really cool. So
That's another thing I'm curious about that we probably don't have time to talk about, but there are no Sith yet. In the new, no one's got red eyes, at least.
No one's got red eyes, correct?
Like Snoke doesn't have red eyes, and Kylo doesn't have red eyes. I'm just wondering.
But in episode 1, 2, and 3, Palpatine's a Sith.
That's true.
And he doesn't have red eyes.
He doesn't have red eyes.
Okay. I'm just
boom. Conversation done.
All right.
I'm just kidding.
And Anakin's Sith eyes were kind of yellow.
They didn't establish until he became Vader.
Yeah.
But I don't think he always had them. Like when he was fighting Obi-Wan, I don't know if they had Sith eyes then.
It was just the Mustafar scenes before Obi-Wan got there.
Yeah,
and then they just
when he was wiping out the Separatists.
They just decided to make him.
I don't know.
I don't know if you
can
I
hide
need to
it.
look
I
at
don't
that.
know.
I don't know the reasoning when it comes and goes. Maybe you can turn it on and they're more powerful
before and after you put your contacts.
Blink 3 times and you have Sith eyes.
All right, so last chance, last comments on The Last Jedi.
I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see Luke Skywalker again. He's got to come back in a big way.
He's got to fight. He's got to have a saber.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And he's got to fight.
Yes.
Yep. This has got to be a big one for Luke.
Yes, I agree.
You know.
Yeah.
I just hope we
Man.
make it back.
I'm telling you, we are going to be
Or-
so blown away. I mean, so
All of our theories are just going to be shredded to pieces.
Something happens to us on the way back here on Thursday.
Oh no, I'm
just
calling.
saying, I'm
calling somebody
backup
with.
plan in case we land in some city that a small town.
We
gotta
can
find out
scalp.
where.
We can probably scalp tickets
We'll
for
find.
a decent
We'll
amount
figure
of
a way
money.
to find
but
it, see it there somehow. I don't know.
you guys you'll make your way back.
I know.
we'll make our way back.
Hey,
I have a plan in
This
case we
guy
don't.
went to see Force Awakens and his steering wheel broke.
Yeah.
We
He
all
got to
we
the
all
theater, so
AAA
anything
will
can happen.
come pick your car up. They'll take it wherever you want. You don't have to go with it.
Anything is possible.
Listen.
Don't ever assume.
Listen, we all know. We all here at this table know someone with a helicopter that could chopper us out.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's true.
So if emergency is an emergency,
Yeah.
Which wouldn't that be the coolest way to go see the
Oh my
movie?
gosh.
It's like land the chopper in the parking lot and be like, hey, we're here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Here's the movie.
So, last two things. One, for everybody listening, just remember, this will come out the day of, but Saturday, December 9th, which is tomorrow, is the world premiere of The Last Jedi. So there's a big streaming, red carpet thing that they're doing in LA. So that means people are going to start watching the movie. So if you do not want to know anything, you might as well just go dark now
yeah, I have to go.
on social media.
The social media embargo for people's reactions is, I believe, sometime Saturday or Sunday.
Correct.
And the review embargo is Tuesday of next week.
Right.
So
Tuesday.
reviews
And
will be
there,
out.
there is Cody found this for me. I'm not going to take credit for it. Cody found there's a Google Chrome extension
Ooh, yes. It's
that
really
is
good.
a Star Wars spoiler blocker.
It's called Force Block.
Wow.
You can add it to your Google Chrome. And so if you search a website and click on a link and it takes you to Reddit or something.
Yeah, raydies.com.
It pops up with a thing and it says beware of spoilers.
Wow.
Or it actually ties in a cool little
Interesting.
Star Wars quote with it. So you should check it out because
Sweet.
it's neat.
And
The only
you
thing it won't block you is if you're on social media and people have images in their headline or whatever on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. That stuff, unfortunately, you can't avoid.
Yeah,
so
I'm
you
just-
just have to
I might
stay
just
off
go
of social
dark for
media.
about a week.
Interesting.
Yeah. Twitter, you can go in and actually block words.
Oh yeah,
You can go in and say Jedi. You put anything in there you want and say block it for
Wow.
forever or the next week or whatever. So you can do that. I did it with Walking Dead.
Sweet.
I don't want to get spoiled on anything. But
Wow.
my suggestion, based on Force Awakens, just stay
yeah.
off the internet. It's fine.
Yes.
If you don't see the internet for a week, everything will
It's
be the
okay.
same.
It's
I'm
okay.
just gonna. I'm
The
just
world
gonna,
will still turn. You will still be able to function in the world.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Watch TV. Something. Don't
Yeah,
worry-
I'm just
stay
gonna.
off the internet.
I'm just gonna be on Netflix and just
Because if what happens
just
to
watch
me
Forensic Files until.
this time that happened last time, I will find that person. I will hunt them down. I will have Anthony kill them.
Oh, I will. I almost did it last time
Because he was with me when it happened.
Yeah.
He was with me when it happened.
we were on a road trip and we were on our way back, and
we were in Knoxville.
were we in Knoxville?
Knoxville, Nashville. It was Nashville.
Coming
we were
back
Nashville.
from
We were-
DC.
No.
We're coming back from. I don't know. We were somewhere.
We were in Nashville with Charles because we were in this. I'll never forget it, man. Charles had to go to this
we
particular
went to
Charles
DC and then
restaurant.
we went to Texas. That's right. Okay.
Yes. And then we had to eat this one restaurant, and I'm flipping, just waiting, doing my normal, not engaging with people and just staring at my phone.
And
Boom.
now
Movie
it's how many
spoiled.
days before the movie?
The day before.
The day
Yeah.
before.
Because we were coming back to watch it.
Wow, you guys have been on the road each
Yeah.
time for Star Wars.
Star Wars, we just go on the road and come back
All right.
the day
Yep.
of. So
All right, last thing is for sure we will have these guys back on after we see the movie at some point to get everybody's reactions to Star Wars The Last Jedi. And of course, I don't have to remind any of you, but after we see the movie, it's a mere 5 months, and then we get another one, Solo, in May, which is even
A year and a half.
So last, yes or no, is there any type of teaser for Solo on this movie?
Yes.
yeah, 5 months.
I feel like I have. It's not like anything I read a rumor that at the fan event we're getting a behind the scenes teaser after the movie. Yeah. Don't know if the rumor's true or not, so I'm going to say yes.
After the movie.
That's what I read.
Wow.
The rumor I read. Don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
Could be bogus.
It's only 5 months out. Why wouldn't you? I mean, they do it years in advance. A year in advance.
I forever thought yes, but I'm going to go ahead and say no. That I do not believe they put anything solo on this movie, just because for one main reason. Now, if it's after, I can. If they do it at all, it needs to be after.
You ride that hype wave.
Yeah, see, that's what my argument was.
Because if you see, but also because if you see it before and you don't like what you see, you've got a bad taste in your mouth when all of a sudden this movie starts.
See, and that,
so that's where I was like, there's no way they can show it.
That's why I think they show it after, and they definitely show it because if people don't like what they see, they're going to be so jacked on Last Jedi
possible,
they're not going to care. They're going to be like, yes, another Star Wars movie in 5 months. They won't care what it is.
That's possible.
They will do a teaser, text-only music, B-roll for confirmation of Kenobi.
Whoa.
Bold prediction.
That's
number
another bold
4.
prediction. Jeez.
Like
Russ is full of them tonight.
Before the movie starts, like a couple of things, maybe some voices, darkness, and then all of a sudden it just says Kenobi. Comes up
wow.
on screen. Confirmation that's happening.
Wow.
Hello
That's
there.
pretty crazy.
Why not?
That means Ewan McGregor has to be in the movie.
In this movie?
Yes, if that happens, then Ewan McGregor is definitely going to
Or
be
it's
in the
just
film.
Ewan McGregor doing Obi-Wan's voice on screen.
Yeah.
He just
see him.
and he just says hello there.
Hello there.
You never know.
You never know.
Never know.
Ray.
All right. Thanks for being on, guys,
Yeah.
for part 2 of this series as we lead up to The Last Jedi. Of course, go to our YouTube channel to check out these guys on the commentaries. Anthony on episode 3, Ross on episode 4, Cody on episode 7. Great insight on these movies from these guys. Go there to enjoy the commentary with us. Other than that, look for part 3 of this podcast, which will be me and Casey giving our full blown predictions of how the movie's going to go. Best way we can. We will be recording that on Wednesday night, the 13th, and we will put it out first thing Thursday morning, meaning that as you prepare that day to go see it, you can listen to our bold predictions. Obviously, it could be spoiler rated if we get it right, but who knows, so but we're going to try to do our best to put together what we've seen out of the trailers and formulate what we think is going to be the story. So, other than that, thanks for listening, guys. We will, again, get these guys back on afterwards at some point shortly after the film gets released to get everybody's opinions and, look at how we look back on what we expected and what we predicted. And there's going to be a lot of discussion. I feel like a lot of discussion after this movie because I feel like this movie is going to change Star Wars in some way. I mean, this is going to be a big change.
I think we're going to have more questions than answers after the movie.
It's very possible. Very possible. Absolutely. So, all right. Thanks, guys. If you want to follow these guys, Russ is Director421 on Twitter. Cody Geiler is Cody Geiler. Anthony's is Cine Snugs on Twitter. Of course, they're with us on our channel, so just go there if you want to follow them. Thanks for listening, guys. InsideTheForce.com. Go there and check us out. For Anthony.
I'll see you next time.
For us.
Hope everyone enjoys the movie.
For Cody.
See ya, Moof Milkers.
I'm Dave. May the Force be with you.
Thank you for listening to Inside the Force, a Star Wars podcast hosted by David Cottingham and Casey Cooney. For more shows, additional content, articles, and the latest Star Wars news, please visit InsideTheForce.com. Inside the Force. For the Force, then all of us.